So that may not really matter, right?
Right.
You're live.
Live.
You're live.
Call the meeting to order. First order of business, approval of the minutes, the previous meeting minutes, and what was that date? I did not write that down. No, yeah, October 22nd. Everybody,
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What was that, 1, 2, 6? Okay, administrative report. I think Cindy's gonna start sending those out at the end of the month, just so everybody knows instead of just before our meetings and stuff, because it needs to be in a monthly thing. So we'll address those from now on, kind of almost a month behind almost, I guess. So just so you know, but from when we have, anybody have any questions on it currently?
Nope.
All right, old business. This is gonna be, two different public hearings. One's gonna be for the rezoning petition, for the Pleasant Creek development, and the other will be the preliminary plat approval public hearing. Just want to say before we start the actual public hearing, I guess I can open the public hearing for the rezoning petition. At the last meeting we had done this, there were a few notices that did not get sent out to property owners. There hasn't been any major changes or anything like that in the ordinance that was originally approved at the last meeting. So just want to let the public know that of kind of why we're back here doing the same thing that we did last month. So I'm going to leave it up to Adam. If you want to give your presentation, that'd be great.
Thank you very much. My name's Adam Mears. As you guys know, I'm with Bradison Land Development. Happy to be here again, albeit it's my doing. And I apologize for missing a couple people, certainly not intentional. I would never ever leave Carmen out on purpose. But unfortunately, that's what happened. So we're back here today to go over our proposed PUD ordinance for Pleasant Creek. I think at least 4 of you have heard this before. At least a couple of you heard it twice. So I'm going to try to be a little more abbreviated this time and go through what we've got here. The important thing, I think, first thing to address, this property, if everybody knows where it is, it's essentially around the wastewater treatment plant. It is currently zoned residential within the county. Of course, whenever we look at a property, we have an opportunity to stay with the current jurisdiction it's at, if we so chose to do that, but we prefer to come to New Whiteland, and that's why we started discussions here, I think well over a year ago, working with Matt and Dwayne and Lee to work on getting this property annexed into New Whiteland, and we think this will be a great project for New Whiteland and for the homeowners that are going to live in Pleasant Creek. So this is, again, about 160 acres located around the wastewater treatment plant. Everybody should have this colored layout. You might want to keep it by your side. I'm going to go through the PUD ordinance, and I'll refer to these areas that are highlighted. The purpose of a PUD ordinance, for those who don't know, we could come in and just have a straight rezone, which would allow for one particular lot size and generally one type of product. We follow all the standards that are currently in place in the New Whiteland ordinance as far as architectural requirements and every other requirement. What a PUD allows is for a give and take between a developer and a municipality to negotiate something that is beneficial for both parties. If I were to tell you how many times we went back and forth on this ordinance and this we spent an awful lot of time together with Matt, Dwayne, and Lee negotiating out with what you have in front of you today. It's even changed from when we were here last month, and I'm going to go over the commitments at the end to understand the final negotiation that we came to. But a PUD allows for more variety of different lot sizes and product types that just a straight rezone isn't effective for. So we thought a PUD was a good vehicle for this. Most of the things we do are PUDs, again, to allow for a variety of products without having to rezone little pockets into separate different rezones. Everything's covered in this one particular ordinance. As you see, we've got 4 areas. There is area A, as you're looking at the layout on the left half, the orange area A, that is going to be Ryan Homes building product in that area. Everything other than the orange at this stage is Lennar. We may have a different builder for the townhomes, but at this stage, Lennar is the builder for area A in the purple, area B in the green, area C and area D. And we'll go through each of those particular products as we go through. But again, 4 total areas depicted as orange and purple is area A, green is area B, blue is C, and D is black. Area A, again, comprised of both Lennar and Ryan Homes, single-family residences, maximum number of 231 units. And really the important thing that people want to know here is 52-foot wide lots. Ryan Homes product is 40-foot wide generally, so you have a 40-foot wide product on a 52-foot wide lot, which is going to give you significant distance between the 2 homes. As we come down, we have this minimum side yard setback of 5, so an aggregate of 10 at a minimum. But for the most part, with a 40-foot lot product, or again, 45-foot wide product, you'll have significantly higher than that. But this allows for, in the event there's a 3-car garage, for a little bit, but 10 is the minimum. The minimum square foot of a ranch is 1,200, 2 stories 1,400, and it's got, again, some architectural features like overhangs that generally aren't included in an architectural ordinance. Area B is a Lennar product. It's a smaller product, and again, the idea of a PUD ordinance is to have a variety of products to meet a lot of different markets. Not everybody wants a larger lot, not everybody wants a larger home, some people want smaller footprints. So it's a smaller lot of a 46-foot wide product, and we've got some product images for you up there, and there's 83 of those, and again, those are Lennar. Area C, which is in the blue, and if you look on Sawmill and Whiteland Road, those are those individual lots that front Sawmill and Whiteland Road. Those are going to be, they're called townhomes, but they're actually going to be single family residential, narrower product, and they'll be front facing, meaning they're going to be garage or rear load, so the front of the houses will be out on Sawmill and out on Whiteland Road, which we think is a better product to look than driving up and down Whiteland Road or Sawmill Road and having to look at large buildings with multiple units in those. This will be buffered off the street by these single family residential smaller townhomes front facing. And then area D, the maximum number of units are 90. We're not going to get 90 in there. Our original design had 90. I think we're down to maybe 70 or so. But those are the traditional townhome buildings that have 4, 5, 6 units in one building. So there's, again, the idea of this plan is to have single-family homes that meet a variety of different markets, and then we've got some multifamily here as well down in the southeast corner to serve that market. We've committed to certain architectural standards that we'll go through here momentarily, and landscape standards. Most of these we're going to go by what the town ordinance is. And if it's not addressed in a PUD ordinance, it defaults to the underlying zoning regulation in the ordinance. So if something's not modified by this PUD ordinance, then we're bound by your current new Whiteland ordinance. So all the street widths, again, have to meet your ordinance. And that's the crux of what the ordinance is. Now I'll go into the architectural standards. We will have homeowners association that will manage by a professional management company. We do that at all of our subdivisions. We are the architectural board, so we make decisions about architectural decisions. For example, the type of fences that are allowed. Anything that happens on the exterior of the house has to run through the architectural committee. And we manage that HOA by hiring a professional company that handles collecting the dues and running that. In our covenants, we deal with this all the time. We have something in our covenants that make it so they have to have a professional management company. And in order to modify that, it would need a significant number of homeowners to do that. And generally, we've yet to have somebody fail from having a professional management company. It's too difficult to manage, especially in a neighborhood with 400 plus units without a professional company to be able to take in the money and pay the bills and work on the budget and do those things. So we will have an HOA that's managed professionally. This goes through the vinyl thickness, the minimum level of vinyl thickness, our roof pitch to be 512 or greater. We talked about the architectural review committee, which would be us. We sod all the front line of the house, and then the seed and the rears are seeded, but we like that sod up front. We have what's called an anti-monotony clause, which is a complicated way to say basically no three homes. If you have one home here, the home on either side and the homes across the street can't look like that home. Can't be the same color or the same elevation. So this, again, allows for different products driving down the street where you don't have three houses in a row looking literally exactly the same. There has to be different elevation and different colors. We have dusk to dawn coach lights out in front of the house. They have to have, again, 2 windows. We want to dictate that there's a certain number of windows on the home and on the side, again, so you don't just have a blank look. We don't allow temporary house trailers or things like that. We don't allow above ground pools. We don't allow commercial RVs, semi-trucks, all those things parked. Now you have one of the things, and I'll get to that in a committee. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. And then we've got some images of the product that you guys have up there that we'll get to here momentarily. Before we get to that, I want to talk, I think, which probably is the most significant part of this, which took us a long time to get to, is these use and development commitments that are the Exhibit E to the PUD ordinance. These have been, we have gone back and forth with Matt, Dwayne, we had a lot of phone calls working through these things. The town, of course, has an interest to protect, or the board and the Lee and Matt and Dwayne have a duty to protect the town, and that's what these commitments really do. I mean, while we agree to them, clearly a lot of these are for the benefit of the town, and those have been negotiated out, and we've agreed to all of these. So first of all, of course, we're going to have common property as those defined. We don't allow short-term rentals. Our covenants will make that clear. There will be no VRBO, no Airbnbs allowed. This says for periods of less than 30 days. We won't even have that. We'll make it to be if to lease it has to be a year or more. Nothing short of a year. We don't want to ever eliminate the possibility for rentals. People get transferred. Things happen in life where people have to move quickly, and it would be too much of a financial hardship to put on a family to say, well, now you can't rent at all. It has to be a longer term, and they have to agree to abide by the commitments. The HOA needs a copy of the lease. So we do our best to protect those short-term rentals. This also says we're gonna have third-party administration of the covenants. That's just what I talked about, the professional management company that'll be there. We don't have a traffic study yet, it's in process. And what we agreed to, again, going back and forth with the town, is that, hey, the traffic engineer is the traffic engineer. They're gonna do their job, they're gonna share it with the town engineer, and we have agreed in this commitment, the developer shall construct entrance and road improvements as recommended by the traffic engineer approved by the town. So, the traffic report's gonna come in, the town's gonna review it, and what it says is what it says. And we're agreeing right here in writing to do whatever improvements are required by that traffic study. That's the best we can do now, and that's what we, Brian, sorry. Sorry, guys. So the only way to deal with the traffic study at this point is to say, whatever it says, we're gonna do. We're committed to that. That's gonna be a commitment of this rezone. So that really does protect the town. We talk about another benefit for the town. Again, a lot of times when developers come to town, there's an opportunity for the town to get some things done that may not generally be done in a normal situation if we were just coming in with a straight rezone. Number 5 here, the developer shall mill to a depth of 1.5 inches, basically, essentially repave Sawmill Road, beginning at the intersection of Rimper Row and ending at Whiteland Road. So we're going to be upgrading that street pretty significantly at only cost to us as the developer. Areas C and D, I may die, but no. Areas C and D are going to be private streets. Generally in townhomes you have private streets. Areas A and B are public streets, so the HOA doesn't have really any control over parking. That's a local ordinance issue, so we can say no parking on the street. It's completely unenforceable by the HOA because they're public streets. We don't control them. Private streets are a different matter. So this commitment is to not allow street parking in the townhome area, other than we've got some designated, and you'll see that on the primary plat, some designated parking pods that are, while they're off the street, they're right there. But there's no street parking, and that's for public safety reasons and other reasons, just to not allow parking on those private roads. There's an idea, or there's some, of course, a plan to construct a roundabout at Sawmill and Whiteland Road, which may change the flow of traffic. Upon request from the developer, or upon request from the town, we will grant the town a stormwater easement through our common area and alley to help with those improvements. And again, happy to dedicate those things to the town. And I continue to say, not that we wouldn't do those things in a straight rezone, but in this case, the town's able to negotiate these things out because it's not a straight rezone. We'll have bollards at our ponds and dry detention, again, for safety purposes. Not only are these in the commitments, but you'll see these, we've identified these on the primary plat as well. We're going to have pond safety signs and life rings in accordance with details on the primary plat, but essentially it's around 3 or 4 per pond. Entrances for the townhomes. It's important that those be designed to allow for emergency access. So we will have an entrance, a main entrance into the townhomes off of Sawmill. We will have a secondary emergency access off of Sawmill as well. That will be protected by a ballard, but that will create an emergency entrance in the event that the main entrance is blocked to the townhomes. We're going to provide emergency access. Again, it'll be protected, so it won't be a regular ingress-egress into the townhomes. It'll simply be for public safety purposes. There is currently a chain link fence that surrounds the wastewater treatment plant. It's not in the best repair, we know that. We have committed to installing an 8-foot vinyl privacy fence, essentially around the entire, well, not the entire, you'll see it on the primary plat, but upgrading that fence to the tune of around $150,000 is what that fence will cost, to allow for that chain link fence to go away, also to create additional buffer between the development and the wastewater treatment plant. We're going to be, in lieu of sidewalks, and in order to help facilitate the Johnson County trail plan, which is run by a wonderful person, and we put it on our primary plat. I wanted to make sure Carmen knows that. So we have, again, we're going to install these asphalt trails that are shown on the primary plat, at least 8 foot wide, along the entire north line of Whiteland Road, and maintain those, and the HOA will maintain those as well. We're going to be giving a 15-foot wide easement for future trails in Johnson County, and drainage easements running along the east side of Grassy Creek as well. We're going to have a playground. I'll talk about that also. The other amenity we're going to have is a pool and a bathhouse. But in addition, we've committed to a playground to serve multiple age groups. I'll kind of say finally, because I think really this is the last big one. We know there's going to be traffic generated, that there's going to be some burden to the intersections of Whiteland and Sawmill. In lieu of us doing any improvements there other than what's recommended by the traffic study, we'll be paying $290,000 into the town over a period of 3 years, 200 of it 2 years after the first permit, 90,000 3 years after the first permit, for the town to use for if there's road improvements need to be done. This is our way of basically paying. The town doesn't have a road impact fee. This is a way for us to contribute to the town around $300,000 to help for any infrastructure improvements that the town may need to see fit. Again, you've got pictures of the, well, one more I'll show you on this color map. If you look in between areas, the 2A areas, you'll see where there's a little pool, well, what looks to be like a pool. That's where the pool house is going to go, that amenity. I'm not certain 100% where the playground is going to go, but it'll be in that same middle area. And then you've got various images of product that would be in each particular area. That's our plan in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has. We've got Mark Gradison here, and Brian Gradison with our team. We've got, we're ready to answer whatever questions you guys may have.
So at this point, it will be open for public comment and questions, concerns. First, I want to ask any board have any questions right off the bat they want to ask, concerns, and then I'll go to the public. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, you've said that in the area C and D will be no parking.
No parking on the streets, correct.
Your HOA is not gonna have a police department. Who's gonna enforce that? Are we gonna be
No,
expected
it's
to do
100%
that?
us. The HOA will call a towing company and have them towed if they need to be towed.
Okay,
Yep, and we have the authority to do that as private streets.
okay. You've talked about the 8-foot fence all the way around.
Yeah.
When we first talked about this, I think the plan was we're gonna have berms and then a fence. Are you still gonna do the berms, or are we just gonna go with the 8-foot fence?
It's going to be the 8-foot fence. We'll end up doing, I know, some landscaping around it on our side for sure, but it would not be structurally sound to be up on a mountain. It'd be
Okay.
too high.
Okay.
So we'll put it as we want it as high as it can go as well. It benefits us to have it high as well.
Sure.
So we're going to do our best to put it up as high as we can. The idea is to have that in a common area. There'll be a strip of common area where that fence is laid. That way, we don't have confusion between the owner of a lot that says, that fence is on my property. It's going to be common area. There's enough room for us to get in and maintain it. When I say us, I'm talking about the HOA as time goes down the road. if there's a repair that needs to be made, the fact that it's in common area, rather than it being an easement, I think we prefer that, allows us to, properly maintain that fence.
Okay. Okay, you talked about the 1 year term, minimum 1 year term for leases. Is the HOA gonna perform any kind of background checks, or what is their responsibility gonna be before they say, yeah, you can rent this house?
Well, the way that it works is an individual will lease their home up. They provide it to the HOA. We have to sign off on it. So yes, we have the ability to do background checks and make sure it's in good place. Now, again, unless there's some glaring issue, we're gonna leave it up to two individuals that determine, I'm gonna lease you my house and you're gonna pay me rent. But of course, because we're gonna have a say, yes, we're gonna make sure it's not somebody that shouldn't be in the neighborhood.
Okay. One last question I have. You talked about the HOA providing the maintenance around the fence and in the common areas and all that. I think we've seen from time to time, HOAs don't always do as you prescribe they're gonna do.
Sure.
If we run into a situation like that, what recourse do we have to the HOA to say, you know what, you're not keeping the grass cut in this common area and it looks like crap?
Well, you have nuisance ordinances and mowing ordinances already in place, so if there was something that was, I don't know what your ordinance says about tall weed and grass, but if it is high and it's not getting done, you have the ability to assess a fine like you would anybody else that didn't mow their grass. The town would have somebody go out and mow it, put a lien against the house and they'd have to pay you back, you know, a fairly exorbitant fee to have the government come mow your yard.
Now, I understand that for the yards. I'm talking about the common area.
Is no different. It's no different than any other piece of property. It's just the HOA is the owner.
Okay.
So you have the ability to come out and mow it. Now, I will tell you, our team, we have one individual that's only job is neighborhood landscaping. That's all he does for us. And he's not the guy out mowing, but he's touches every site. We have regular meetings on site with our landscaping crews that are hired. It would be unlikely to have something get to a point where the HOA, and I'll be honest with you, in the last 20-some years, I can think of a situation where that's ever happened. So I get what you're saying, but yes, there's certainly, the government has as much authority as they need to find somebody for high grass and weeds like anybody else in the HOA and common areas is no different.
And they're gonna take responsibility for the ponds as well.
Correct. Yeah, all that stuff goes into common area.
Okay.
So I haven't done it yet, but we generally, our management company they take into consideration the ponds and the size of the ponds and how many fountains there are gonna be and so on and so forth, how much common area needs to be mowed. Put in a fund for the fence where we know repairs are gonna have to go down the road. We put a budget together day one. And then yes, the HOA maintains all of those common areas.
Okay, thank you.
So I missed the last meeting I was at town.
Yeah.
I don't know what was discussed.
It was all roses.
We talked about, the first meeting I was at was the vinyl siding, nothing but vinyl siding. I've seen vinyl villages and I just don't understand, you're gonna make money on this, why can't we have a little bit nicer facade? Why can't we have some brick? I mean, you get a better look. And then you made a statement to me that really stuck with me for over a month now, that, well, this is by a treatment plant. You only can market to such. That's really bothering me. I'd like for you to address and tell me what you mean by that we're building by a treatment plant, that we're only gonna market to certain, we can't put too much money in these homes. You said that. It stuck with me for almost 2 months now. I'm curious what you applied, because you're talking about bringing people into our town. What are you saying by that?
Well, I think my point is, you have to balance a value of a product and where it is. To have a product that's gonna be $20,000 more in an area that does have some challenges to it from a salesperson. Now, we're not the builder. We don't build homes. But clearly, there is more of a difficult sales challenge to sell on the lots that are gonna be right up against a wastewater treatment plant than one that's not. The cost of the home is important, and from a sales standpoint, it's important to be able to build a home that not only is good quality, but that can sell to the market that's coming to buy it. So I didn't mean it to denigrate in any way or shape or form, I'm just dealing with the facts, and the facts are, you would expect a home to not cost more than the market may bear at an area where there's, again, something that could create a sales challenge. And that's all I meant by that. I don't, just being factual with you about it. From a business and marketing standpoint and a sales standpoint, the other thing is the homes that are designed here are a particular type of style, craftsman style, that doesn't generally use a lot of brick. There are a lot of different variations in the way that their designs are, with different types of shingles or different types of designs of the way the vinyl is. But I don't necessarily know that adding another $15,000 or $20,000 to a house here is a great business decision when we're trying to sell a good home in a good neighborhood, but we can't price ourselves out of the market. But I appreciate your question. I mean, I get what you're saying. And I know last time you were here as well, we talked about the traffic, and that's why I wanted to make very clear, as clear as gold in this thing, we're going to do whatever the traffic study says.
Now, have you discussed with American Water, they're good with the supply?
Yeah, we've covered with everybody, and I can let the boys talk about that. But yeah, there's the sewer treatment has plenty of room. Water comes from. It's not. New Whiteland doesn't have their own water, so it's just they'll sell whatever we'll buy. So there's definitely not a water problem. There's based upon everything that Matt and Dwayne have said, they've had studies on the sanitary. There's not a sanitary problem. I think they have capacity. I should mention also, as part of this, we're going to be deeding some property up closer to Whiteland Road to the town to allow for some expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. Not generally more tanks or those things, but to allow for storage to move other places, to allow for its expansion if it's needed. And we're happy to be able to grant that property to the town that it doesn't currently have.
Can I ask again what the price point is for these starting and ending, what you estimate them to be?
It's very, very difficult in this market to build a house under $300,000, to sell a house under $300,000 in this market.
Okay.
So these will be 300 and up.
Okay. The reason I ask is there is another development going in near McCordsville.
Okay.
I had my doubts about the townhomes when you talked about them. This is almost identical. They've got same size lots, same size townhomes. I have pictures of some of the homes. Same price point, and to go back to Jeff's point, there's one of them that is almost entirely brick, and I didn't see a single one out there that didn't have at least a quarter on the front of brick. You have to kind of understand, we're going to be here after you guys are gone, okay?
Sure.
You're going to move on to something else. I know you guys got stuff all over the place. There is a fear of it becoming transient rental property. And I think the nicer it is, the more aesthetically it is, people will tend to stay longer. And, I'm in favor, and right now I'm in favor of this project. But I also don't want to turn around 5 years from now and it's all rental property, and I don't care what your HOA says. The people that, if they move out there and they end up renting out half of this, they're going to tell your HOA to go pound sand. Because if you can fine them all you want, doesn't mean they're gonna pay it. And if they're just renting it, they'll just leave. That's what, at least in my mind, that's my fear right now.
I can speak to that on a couple levels. Number one, you're right. I mean, now, the HOA has a lot more teeth than what you described, if the HOA chose to do that. I practice law also, and I practice law, and I get hired by HOAs to, somebody builds a fence that wasn't allowed under the covenants, or builds it without approval. HOA decides, we have no choice, the person won't take it down, we have to file a lawsuit in court to get them to take that down. That happens every day, not by me every day, but that happens all over here every day, where somebody's violated a covenant in the HOA, and your remedy is go to a court and get a court order to stop it if they don't voluntarily stop it. So there is authority, again, that's up to the HOA how hard they want to go after those things, but you're right, we can't protect against every possible evil that you can think of. The best we can do is we can have a clear statement that the lease has to be at least a year. We can limit the number of and if that's something the Plan Commission wants us to do, we'd be happy to limit the number of rentals that can be in place as well. I still go back to the kind of overarching theme of if we only allow 50 rentals, whatever, 20 rentals, whatever the number is, that 21st person whose husband gets transferred to California, oops. So I think in my feeling and what we've done with the 75 developments we've done in the last 10 years, this has worked. We have not seen an overrun of neighborhoods where you have companies come in and buy the homes and it turns into a whole rental area. We just haven't seen that to be reality. Regarding the brick, I get what you're saying. I don't know, it's difficult to know without understanding. I mean, I know McCordsville's architectural standards are different, but look, there's builders in town that can build an all brick house that's $199,000, well, not today, but $200,000, $210,000 all brick. It's not a great quality home. So I understand the feeling about brick. This product, both that Lennar and Ryan Homes are building, are very successful. It's different architecture than what we all grew up with, and that's because design has changed over the last 20 years. We're confident, and I know our builders are confident that this product is gonna look good. It's gonna be successful. It's a thicker vinyl percentage than what CP Morgan used to use back in the day, where they were using incredibly thin vinyl. The vinyl technology's gotten significantly better, and we're using a thicker. We're committing to a thicker vinyl than the most minimum type of vinyl ever. So and again, it's not 1970s vinyl. It's. I know it's not brick, but I think this is what the builders believe can make the market. And the worst thing that can happen is you get a development and then it doesn't sell, and now you've got something stale that sits here unkempt, and nobody's there. So the builder has to believe, and we have to believe in the builder's plan. We're just selling them lots. We're not selling houses. We want them to be successful. So we meet with them before we do any development. Sit down and say, let's talk about the product you're thinking about here. Why'd you come up with this product? What's your marketing tell you about this area? What price point do you think you need to be at? And we have to buy into them. They're selling us, hey, we want these lots. This is the product that I know the builders are comfortable with, that they can be successful at. We're confident they can be successful at this, and I think adding more things to increase the value of the home, I think it would be detrimental to the whole project as a whole. So what I can commit to the fact that we're gonna have a very good looking neighborhood with a good looking entryway, with a again, an HOA that takes care of the common area at a high level, and a group of ownership and management of this project that's 30 minutes away, and easy phone call, and we answer calls. I mean, I took 2 calls a day for developments that we haven't been in 2 years. Somebody called, hey, we need some help with something. Do you remember? You know, we're a local company. His name's on the company. So I say that to just say we care about what we're going to do. You know, hopefully, I'll put Carmen on the spot again. You know, we've developed a product in Whiteland. We've worked with Carmen for years now on this product. I'm not even afraid to ask her to come up and say, what's your experience been like, not only working with us, but how's the neighborhood look? What do you hear from the owners? I mean, I talk to the homeowners all the time. We had some issues early on with one of our landscaping crews wasn't doing a great job. We switched it immediately. We meet with the homeowners there on a regular basis. We're incredibly proud of that development. Just so much that we're adding another 137 lots there. So I say that not patting ourselves on the back that we're a good partner, but I think the proof is in the pudding. I think we've got a really good looking product there, and I think we do a really good job of what we do to keep our neighborhoods looking nice. That's what I can commit to.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't want to keep this subject going, but I just want to double check. I'm looking at the pictures and things like that, and in the handout you gave, it didn't have the front load
Yeah, it should be.
units. I didn't see those
Yeah,
in
it's
there.
on the
But
last page.
oh,
And it's next to,
We did a good job.
yeah, it's not on. At least this one. I don't know if your guys did, but
This one does, it doesn't have D, but it's in.
the reason why I was asking is because it's something, you know, I've seen them because, you know, it's the same thing I emailed out, and we were talking about brick and going through looking
these
at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'd be
This is the one we don't have in this
this
packet.
one there,
oh, you don't have that one?
No.
Oh, my
right?
bad.
Which I mean, they were all emailed everything as well,
There's a color one you can pass.
right?
Sorry about that.
And the reason why I was asking that is because per the ordinance, you guys are showing these exhibits as examples.
Yeah, representative images.
Represent. So every one of the we'll call it the rear load. I'll start there. Shows that it has brick on it. I'm assuming that. I mean, with this, those will all have brick, and the front load will have brick as well. It's not a full brick. It's a quarter brick.
Yeah,
I
these are
would call it.
representative images of what
Okay.
that product will be.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that because I know in some of the other pictures that, you know, of some of the others, you know, it gives you examples of elevations that have brick and then the same, you know, the same style home but doesn't have brick. I just wanted to double check that at least on the townhome side, since there really weren't multiple examples of the same, that's what we really would be looking
That's
at
the
as far
product,
as
that's
that.
the product we're committing to. Again, if we had a different builder, they're gonna look at that picture and we gotta say it's gotta be like that picture.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is that you gotta remember, when Lennar and Ryan Homes are selling to a customer, they're gonna look at all the elevations available under a certain model. And if there's one that has a different feature than this one has, a lot of it's gonna be up to the buyer, what the buyer wants. So,
Okay.
it's not as if we're gonna build everybody the same exact house. Some people are gonna look at an elevation and say, I don't like that elevation, I want this elevation, I want this model, but I like that elevation. And, again, they've got enough options to not only give people choices, but to create that anti-monotony, so you don't have a street that every single house is exactly the same.
And I get it, you know, as you know, the last home I purchased, you know, fairly young family, had kids, you know. When you're building a home, you got choices to have to make, you know, and sometimes, you know, having an extension on the house is worth more than having brick. So I know that there's, you know, it does give you the options, but that's all I wanted to
those
know
are
is
representative
about the
images.
townhomes. So.
And that's, you know, that's what we've gone by, as we go through and get to that point where we're start building houses.
Everybody good right now. I'll let public, if you have questions raise your hands. I will try my best to call on everybody. We'll just work from my left to right, so yours goes right to left. And then we will need name and address for the records, so Cindy can write that down. Yes. Yes.
So a quick question, are there extras?
Well, what's your name and address, please?
Vanessa Terek, Terek, 243 Linwood Drive,
Thanks.
Lyn. Are there extras of those packets that we get to see, or is this information?
I was to say, I think Adam, you've got a few extras, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Please. Can I put this?
Sure.
Get copies or something?
Copies all over the place.
Thank you.
I can say we even got a copy here if somebody needs it, because I've got it on my computer. So I said I think we got plenty of these, but it's probably some of these.
I did too. Just
Oh, well, it's attached to this.
Here, Matt, somebody else wants one.
These are the exhibits of what they look like in about this. Okay. Yes.
The Appleton 103 Sawmill Road. We can't stop this. This is going in my front yard, as you guys know. I understand what you're saying, OTOA is not gonna go away, they're gonna do this, and gonna do this. Telling us they're not cookie cutters. You can go to every division right here around us. They are cookie cutters. There's a lot of that are empty. You're gonna be $300,000 for a home, but if you're gonna be over by the sewer plant, because you're by the sewer plant, you don't get as nice as home. That's kind of, I got what you're saying there. And it's really a negative to our community and it is very insulting to somebody who may not be able to afford, their home may be $300,000 because it's sitting by the sewer plant. The image and what you are saying, because that's what the word is been out here on the street, is not very positive, you guys coming in, okay? And I understand we're gonna do a traffic study. I already know what Sawmill's gonna be.
I already know what else I'm gonna do.
What Sawmill's like, because I know what's going on now, just in general. You know, hopefully the roundabout will help in things, but when there's messes going on around, we got semis still coming down the road. You guys start doing your construction, that road's gonna really get torn up. We have kids riding bikes, so some of my questions may not necessarily be for you, maybe more for at the town level or whatever. You know, what are we doing about lighting? Because the south end of Sawmill Road is very dark, extremely dark. There's no sidewalks whatsoever. So there's a safety thing there. And then you're adding 400, basically 800 more vehicles. You figure 2 vehicles per home. You're gonna add 800 more vehicles on Sawmill, Whiteland, and Tracy, which you guys are gonna give the town, you know, wonderful $290,000. That may be okay today, but 5 years down the road, is $290,000 gonna take care of everything?
You know, you're
No, it's not. It's not. So I'm trying to understand some of that. You got ponds going in, which would be great. I don't know where they're at, because this map doesn't really tell me where they might be. I don't know if that's these little dotted line areas, if that's the ponds. Those are ponds, okay. How are you gonna control, you've got a pool coming in, how are you gonna control if that pool is just for those residents? How are you gonna control when we have in so many areas already throughout just our areas, Indianapolis in general, of kids drowning in these retention ponds because the fencing and the protection is not enough? How is our police department, our fire department, how are we going to take care of another 400 people or 400 homes, what's gonna put on you guys, you know, your town, your street guys, they do an excellent job right now, but are we gonna be able to support all of this? You know, because you guys are, you know, I don't want, when this comes in, because I can't do a daggone thing about it, I'm losing a lot. When this goes in, I'm losing all my wildlife. I bought my house because of where I'm at, the small town, the country feel, the homey, okay? We're losing that. I understand development happens. I got that. But we are gonna be losing so much, and what are we truly gaining? Are we really gonna be gaining a lot? Is our fire department gonna be able to handle this? You know, are they truly gonna be able to handle it? What's it gonna do to our tax costs? Yeah, my property's gonna go up, but maybe, hopefully it goes up. But in 10 years, when this section over here has got, excuse me, the riprap in it, my property's gonna go down. Where are you gonna be at when my property goes down? You're not gonna be around. You're not. And I'm not convinced, unfortunately I wasn't able to come to one of the other meetings, I don't see where I want Whiteland to grow. I want our town to grow. But I'm trying to figure out where did the city come from for $300,000 homes, for vinyl homes. I understand pricing and all that, I got that. They're cookie cutters. Same cookie cutters basically is over here on Whiteland Road. It's the same thing. What do we as a town gonna benefit from this?
Okay,
What do we benefit?
I'll address
each one.
Yeah, I'll go through a few some of them, and Mark, I think I'll take a couple. First of all, about the pool, there'll be a key fob that each homeowner has. It's locked gate, and only somebody with a fob can get in. So that's how that's protected. Aside from the $290,000 that's going to be paid in, there's going to be road improvements that are going to be done. We don't know what those are going to cost, but there's going to be several $100,000 of road improvements that are going to be improved as well. And then you also have to remember that right now, the property that sits there at 160 acres has a taxable assessed value of $775,000. This development, when completed, is going to have about $113 million of assessed value. So there's going to be a significant taxable increase that will benefit the town as well. So development, again, yeah, $300,000, you're right, I don't know what's going to be 5 days. Clearly, there are issues with traffic in the streets before we even get here. So the entire burden of what's going to happen isn't on just these 400 homes. It's been a problem for a while. But what development does do, how long does Sawmill need to be remilled and repaid? How long is that? That's going to get done. That's an incredibly expensive endeavor. So yes, you see the $290,000. On top of that, we're going to repave all of Sawmill Road. That's going to make it better. We're going to do any road improvement that's requested of us. This is going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million+ of improvements without the town paying. And then add to that again the additional tax base that's going to come to this for the town to help for services that may be needed and requested. I don't know how the home builders price their homes. The homes are going to be what they're going to be, wherever they are in the subdivision. Every single subdivision has lots that are, pond lots always cost more. It's a different view. So you go to a neighborhood and you're going to spend $20,000 more on a house that's got a pond lot than not on a pond lot. The builders decide how they're going to price each particular lot and attribute those things. But yes, certainly a home that backs up to a wastewater treatment plant, you would expect that the home builder is going to have to sell that for a slightly less price than a home that's behind a pond. It's just like, it's a premium. I'm not denigrating in any way, shape, or form. As I said to Jeff, it's just facts. I'm not trying to make a big statement about it. I'm just being factual from a sales standpoint.
It's the same houses.
Exactly.
It's a special line of houses that's going to go around the treatment plant. So if client A wanted to pick a 2,500 square foot home and put it on one of the lots that is going to abut the sewer treatment plant, they can do that, or they could pick a lot that's on the pond. they could be in either place with the same house. It's not like it's going to be a different house around that. And it's not like we're gonna lower the price to $200,000 around the pond.
That helps you clarifying it, because that's not how it's been
Yeah.
perceived and spoken, and, you know, so that helps.
Sure.
How are you gonna control Joe Blow out here renting his house out, Susie Q down the road renting her house out? How, in all reality, how are you going to control that I don't still live in the house, and I'm renting it out to somebody else? How are you gonna truly control and know that you don't have 50 rentals out there?
Well,
But you're only saying that we're gonna allow, say, a magic number 20. You know,
the way I'd address that is by saying to you this. Right now, you could have your neighbor rent your house to whomever, and you have no say over it. You have no authority over that in any way, shape, or form.
correct.
So you have no authority over any riffraff that could come next to you. A neighborhood, though, is a collection of people, and everybody in that neighborhood is under the same agreement, which is we all have these covenants and we're all bound by these things.
Okay.
Some of it, you need a neighbor to speak up and say, hey, I know they're renting their place. Yes, is the HOA, are we gonna go around and knock on doors and say, are you the actual owner? No.
Oh, I got that.
But we will make it clear to homeowners, and again, we have annual meetings of people, this will be talked about, it'll be highlighted in the covenants, that you know, there needs to be some neighborhood assistance in enforcement. This happens a lot with parking. You know, we're not in the neighborhood every day. I can't tell you how many calls I get or an email I get from somebody saying, hey, somebody's been parked there, their RV's been parked out front. And I don't, you know, it's somebody turning somebody into the neighborhood, but that's the way we get something. Now, our team is generally in the neighborhood several times a week. Somebody from our team, either our landscape guy, Mark, our field guys, who are doing development. The HOA goes twice a month. So the HOA management company drives through twice a month. They'll send violation letters out, but a lot of it is you have to rely on your neighbors. And that's the best we can do. And I would be willing to argue that, while not everybody is up for an HOA, it does have more ability to limit things than you and your neighbors on Sawmill Road, where anybody can come in there. So you're right, there is no perfect key to fit the perfect lock here. We can do our best to set it up to succeed and educate the homeowners when they come in and educate them at annual meetings. But yeah, we need help from our homeowners to help let us know if there's something that's going on that's not right.
And if you drive through, you know, just use Briar Creek because it's our closest development we've done to you, that's been here for a little bit. And, you know, that place looks pretty darn good, and those neighbors take really good care of their places, and there are a few rentals that I know of, but those folks are taking care of it. If they weren't, and we saw that, then we would be contacting the owners. You know, if we see the grass isn't getting cut, weeds growing in your beds, whatever the case may be, then our guys will reach out to those owners and say, hey, you know, you gotta get your stuff cleaned up. Oh, you don't live there anymore, well, still, get your stuff cleaned up. It doesn't matter who's living there, a lien can still get attached to that house if they're not taken care of. We have to come in and help.
Adam or Mark,
Yeah.
I think every declaration of covenants I've ever seen has included in it the right for the town to enforce the covenants, as well as the neighbors and the association. Is that something that, I mean, I assume that yours will include that as well, that the town can enforce a covenant just like the association can if it chooses to?
Generally, we don't,
Okay.
because the town isn't a party to the private covenants between the homeowners. Generally, that's done through the ordinance.
Okay, but do you have any objection to that?
No.
Okay.
That was actually going to be my question. Is that you know something if the town doesn't feel that the HOA is
Yeah.
upholding their end of the
I mean,
bargain,
that's
then we
customary in
can
my
come in as
I
experience.
just
well.
don't think from a privy contract standpoint that the town has the ability to enforce a private covenant without an ordinance that gives them the authority to go after the private contract.
Which the majority of the stuff they're talking about, the majority of that stuff we already have ordinances on, like the grass and things like that.
Yeah, we're
So
happy
they
to
would
add
be
something to
under.
the ordinance that says we agree that the town can enforce it
Okay.
if it's not being currently enforced, I can do that.
Good.
Can I want to piggyback on what Dee was asking, okay? And I'm only asking because I don't know if this is doable at all. Okay, but you've already said that me as a homeowner, I can't Verbo and I can't Airbnb. Is there any way to put in there that I can't sell to XYZ management company in California that all they do is rentals? Because I have the perfect storm. Right next to me is a private renter or a homeowner. He bought the house, he rents it out. He comes over to me and says, hey, if they're not cutting the grass, you let me know.
Sure.
The one behind me has sold to a management company in California that the grass has been this tall. Their grass got cut 3 times this summer and they don't care.
Here's the legal logistical problem with that. First of all, it's how do you word it, okay? And now I got my lawyer hat on, I'm thinking about how do you word it. No corporation can do it, well, what if somebody puts it in for tax reasons, puts it in a trust or a limited liability company? That's almost, and you get somebody that says, hold on, now you're infringing upon my right to sell my own real property. And I don't want to get in that legal battle with somebody that says, hold on, I can sell this to whoever I want to sell it to. The fact still remains, if you're a company that is in the business of renting homes, you gotta rent it for a year. Now, I'm dealing with a company like that in one of our other neighborhoods. To be perfectly honest, there was a situation where we had to sue them. We sued the company, they're out of another state. The second they got the lawsuit, they're like, we didn't know this, they resolved it immediately. It took a little more time. But I think the only way to do that is they still have to follow the same rule, that it can't be a short-term lease, it has to be a year-long lease, it has to be provided in the HOA. HOA has to sign off on it.
Slippery slope for us to try and say
But-
you can't cancel your house.
I don't wanna spend the next 3 years in federal court because somebody says they can't sell their house and we've now breached their ability to do that.
Okay, so just to clarify one thing I think I heard you say earlier. If there's an issue, somebody from your HOA or your management company is 30 minutes away.
Yes.
They're not in California.
Correct.
So we could get a hold of somebody if it's a huge issue.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, that helps.
We've had situations, I'm trying to think about, it was at Briar Creek, where I think it was a weekend. One of the weekend days, there was an issue, I think when one of the streets flooding, or maybe one of our washout, or something with the drain was clogged or something, and one of our guys, we all talk all the time, it's just, hey, is anybody near Briar that can pop down there? Yep, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So we have enough developments around the city that clearly during a work day, I mean, I can have somebody here in 15 minutes, because there's always one of our team is in the vicinity. We've got things going on in Greenwood, we've got things going on in Whiteland, we've got down in Edinburgh. So we've got things going down on this side of town, but our management company is local as well, locally owned, operated. So yeah, I mean, again,
Okay.
Matt and Wayne Lee, they all have my cell phone, they got Mark's cell phone. I think, we're gonna miss talking to these guys. But they know how to get a hold of us. We're not hiding from anybody, and we'll do what we need to do to fix the problem.
Okay, thank you.
I have one last question, and maybe with you guys. As you know, Sawmill, the south end is higher than the properties. And I hear them talking about milling it down. I know what that means. Are we going to mill it down to correct everything, or are we just gonna mill it down and we still gonna have a problem? I mean, because you guys know where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, yes, 100% know exactly what you're talking about, and something that Matt and I have talked about that I mean, it's nothing set in stone, but we are aware of the situation there. Now, as far as milling it down, I mean, right now it's spec'd out as 1.5 inches. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you how thick that road is. More than likely, it's still county road, and it may be 11 inches worth of asphalt, or it may be 4 inches of asphalt. I truly can't answer that right now.
And you understand, because you guys, you guys have been great with us, you honestly have, the town's been great. But I'm looking to fix my front yard of excess of $1,000 because of Sawmill Road. That's an expense that I'm not going to incur.
So I deal with this a lot. Yeah, I haven't seen the design plan of what your infrastructure is gonna look like, as in storm and sanitary, all that stuff. If with the townhomes, if there is a storm system in that area, it could be brought into where you could tie the east side in, and possibly, if it's designed to go that way, and get the water out of that problem over there, possibly. Because I know what they're talking about. Every house down through there can have ducks swimming in their front yard.
So I'll be
and
honest
it's
with you.
just a
So that
problem.
was one of the reasons why the commitment for that easement going into that storm system over there was to help with that. Because
I mean, I know they can always put a stub out too.
correct.
To get it to where the edge of the right of way or something.
Right.
Where you could get into.
Yep.
I mean, so I know
Yeah,
that
that-
happens all the
Yeah,
time.
there'll be an easement that's in place for them to do that.
Was they
We just need to
definitely been
understand
on
what
my
you're
mind.
trying to do with it, correct? We can't go put a 30-inch pipe at the top end of our system and then end up with 48 at the back side. That doesn't work. But if we need to pick up a little bit of drainage over there, an acre or something like that, or less, yeah, that's not gonna be a problem. If we start talking about a big amount, then we have to talk about it.
It's not that big.
Right.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know the extent
Yeah,
of the
but
problem.
across
Yes.
the front of the properties, they all have
Right.
water that stands.
We're dealing with one of those that knows raised it up too high.
Yeah, the road's been built up over the years. And it's,
And I'll tell you that has been on my mind even from this development. And to be honest, it was kind of almost a breath of fresh air kind of when they had brought that this. I'm thinking, well, this is a way that we can try to help fix that along that east side and things like that.
Have you explained to me, not here, but elsewhere, other ways?
Well, or
Because
let us help
it's-
brainstorm with these guys in here, and then we can talk about that whole area. If we need to set you up for success, so to speak, I'm not saying we're gonna go do the work, but if we can set you up for success there, let us help you do that. But that means you guys contribute a few bucks for us to extra mill, if there is the depth of the pavement, and we can mill it down 5 inches instead of an inch
Oh,
and a half.
you're probably more
And I'll tell you, just so that you're aware that the whenever we actually start getting construction plans, if this goes through, town engineers will be looking at it. It'll go to a third party engineer, and it won't be from them or anybody. It'll be somebody that the town has hired. It'll probably be the same people we've used in the past. They will look at all of that. They'll look at the drainage issues that this may cause, what they're going to have to do to mitigate that, as well as the roads. I know that'll be all looked at with that traffic study and things like that. So it is all will be addressed.
I'm done delegating.
I'm gonna
For now.
yes.
I have a question. I'm sorry. My name's Murray. McMurray.
Just say it all again. I could.
Heather. 136 Whiteland Road,
And what was your last name?
McMurray. So, going along with what she said, as far as basically it sounds insulting to the town, who already has houses here, and my daughter is a 4th generation in the house that I'm in. Her great-grandparents built that house. So, they chose to be here. The purchaser of the land that you are up here trying to get permission for knew that that was by a wastewater treatment plant. They chose to buy that land. They're also choosing, from what it sounds like, to lowball those houses to get them sold and not care about who comes in. Well, we as a community care who comes in. I'm not trying to sound harsh, but I've been to enough meetings in public areas where I can hear when somebody is trying to smooth things over just to get their plans through. And I'm sorry, but that's what it sounds like I'm hearing. Here, we're giving you money for this, here, we're giving you money for that. How is a traffic study not done yet, but you're planning on putting at least 800 cars a day on Whiteland Road and Sawmill Road and Tracy Road. Additional to what's going to the new houses down on 75. I don't understand, every dot of farmland is up for sale. We can't sustain it. And I don't wanna have to leave my daughter's home because we're gonna widen Whiteland Road and lessen the value of our home, which is what I'm being told is already in the plans. So that means that there's 4 lanes of traffic that I have to fight through to get out of my driveway every day. On top of the apartments that are down by the liquor store, I don't even know how many units are going in there. So I get to fight that traffic. I get to fight the 800 units that you're putting in. I already get to fight, are these the ones that are across the street from me then, behind Van Lanningham?
Behind the,
Van Lanningham, the big.
yes.
Okay.
Right, that's
So I've been fighting those since those went in. I don't understand how, and I apologize, I have not been, I didn't know this was even going on. I would have been here. I don't understand how much, when is it gonna stop? How much is too much? Because our town isn't a little town anymore. And all these new housing additions going in are giving the town that's currently there no benefits. They're gonna have a pool, but my child can't go to that pool. But there's enough room on this map to actually design a public pool and a public park, but that's not been discussed. So what it is that you're creating a town within a town. You're not bringing people to be part of our town. You're creating towns inside of our towns that stay in their little community on their sidewalks, and they just use our roads to get to their little communities. And that's how it is. I promise you. And as far as the infrastructure, our water is red and yellow now on most days. You go to flush the toilet and your cold water line is running red and yellow. You can't get clean water from Indiana American Water. What? Are the townhouses rentals?
No, for sale lots.
Okay, so pretty sure you can write a covenant however you want to. Am I wrong? No. Okay, so when he asked about having a covenant that said you can't sell to an out-of-state party, which is how Whiteland grew so big because a lot of people came in from California in the 90s. If you put it in the purchase agreements up front for those homeowners, that they know that they cannot sell to a company or a corporation, then you've been up front and they cannot drag you into court. So what he's asking for is doable. You're just saying that they don't, that you guys or who you're representing probably don't want to have to go through that hassle. When our town deserves the best, just like the town you live in, you want the best for. We're not asking too much, and like she said, $270,000? Okay, but you don't even know what the traffic study shows yet. And repaving that road, you would have had to do that anyway, because the dump trucks that you're gonna have going up and down Whiteland Road and Sawmill Road, why don't you have me a cleaning service set up because of all the dust that you guys are gonna pile into my house again? Because the ones across the street, I had to change an air filter in my furnace every week when they were tearing up the farmland. I mean, this is just, and let's talk about fireworks. Can we have it put in that they can't let off fireworks?
Yeah,
No, that's a
that'll be
state
a
ordinance.
state. That's a
That's a
state
state
thing.
ordinance.
More houses that set off so many fireworks that they shake your house.
That's going to be a subject for something because that's something from the
I'm
town.
giving examples
I know.
here. Because there's a house on the corner that I swear they let off like 3 or 4 tied together and it shakes your windows, does it not?
It doesn't bother me, so.
It
I'm
just,
okay with fireworks.
oh, I'm okay with them too, but my dog's not.
Like,
I have to sedate the dog.
yeah,
I don't understand And I appreciate what you have said, and I appreciate what you have said, and I appreciate what you have said. But it sounds like they're selling you a lot of, oh, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, if you're gonna give us what we want. And I really hope that you guys take the time to think about, is this the top value that we should be getting? Because 290,000, really? Like I said, Whiteland Road's already torn up from the housing addition that was put in across the street and all the dump trucks.
Now, what I will say is, based off of the covenants, and I don't think this will be the case, but, by them agreeing to it, if a traffic engineer comes in and says it's a $40 million project, they've agreed to it. I don't think you're not.
Agreed to what though?
To whatever that traffic engineer has said.
Okay, but that's my point. Is it gonna be the Whiteland Road? Well, then I've got this much distance from the road to my front door. And my kids' bedrooms.
I can let you know, these 380 homes, 400 homes that we have will not require a widening of Whiteland Road. So it looks at what our effect on the intersections and the roadways are. Our 400 homes won't require a 2-lane addition to Whiteland Road or a 2-lane addition to Sawmill Road. Just making sure you understand that.
And I'm just telling you, that's what's already being put around.
Can I address that, if you don't mind? Okay. How many people are here? 30?
No.
Why in the heck, if everybody's so concerned, why are all the people that are posting on Facebook and everything else, why are they not here getting real answers? Okay.
Don't believe it.
But you're also hearing.
Question for you, sir, if you'd like me to.
I'm sorry.
I said I'm more than welcome to answer that question for
Please.
you, sir. The answer is they don't know. Do you know that Whiteland Town Council has 2 websites? You guys aware of this? 2 websites with 2 different dates and times of these council meetings? Are you aware that more often than not, most people find out about a town council meeting about an hour after someone posts about it on Facebook?
I'm going to assume that you're probably, because there's actually 2 separate towns. There's a town of Whiteland and there's a town of New Island. So I would assume is that where you're getting the two sites? Because that'd be news to me, I guess. So
Yeah.
but
And it is on the Town of New Whiteland website. The meetings and dates and the agendas are posted, and you can sign up for email notifications when the next one's gonna be. So there's no excuse for not knowing.
Yeah.
You have to go look.
And I can
it
say,
is, paper, all that, what the state statute tells us for notification they've had to do, and I know Lee's checked that out. It's all been done to state statute, to my understanding, right, Lee?
Yeah. I think the things that you're frustrated about, I understand that and we all want to talk about things that we'd like to see changed. But the purpose of this public hearing is to either learn more about what's being proposed in the way of this development, or to express either support or objection to it. And I think we end up serving this process the way we're supposed to. If you all can focus your comments more directly at the specifics of what's being proposed, and if you say I'm opposed to it and I encourage you to vote against it, say that. If you say, I am very much in favor of it and I hope it gets approved, say that. But this is the opportunity for the public to voice your concerns and your opinions and your position on this to the Plan Commission. But we can't get wandering off too far from the subject again. I'm not necessarily pointing this at you. I'm just saying that what's posted online and whether there's confusion or whatever, that may be something we need to take up. But we need to try to keep the conversation on the subject at hand. I'm not directing it at you.
Okay, I still have more questions.
Okay, that's fine.
And it goes back to, what is the town getting? What is people getting? Like I said, there's room on there for a public pool instead of just their neighborhood pool. There's room for other things to include everybody. But I just think that you're putting too much, too fast on all of our infrastructure, everything. I would urge you to vote no. And I would just remind you that there is a baseball parade that goes through every year, that now you're saying that they can't park, so parents can't park and watch their kids there like they park along the other parts of Sawmill Road. Because that's gonna be a private property.
Not Sawmill Road,
No.
just inside where the townhomes are, the interior drive inside the neighborhood.
Right, yeah, it won't even be, it won't be the regular house, it's just the townhomes is a private, and it's
Inside
three
the
streets.
subdivision, not out on Whiteland or Sawmill. at
Just
all.
this little bitty section down in the corner, that's the only part that there won't be any parking
Street
allowed.
parking.
This, yeah, street parking, that little bitty bit. So,
My other question, why is that one private versus the rest of it is public street?
Generally, townhomes will go in.
Because with townhomes, typically you have a little tighter setup, and it's also, it's a little different setup from how the streets work, in that it has an inverted curve, which typically towns don't want to take care of, so the HOA is going to take care of it, as we put in the commitments. And most apartments, most multifamily apartments and townhomes that are for sale, most of those in almost all parts of central Indiana that we do work in are always requested to be private drives.
It's hard to maintain with snowplow and sweeping,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
difficult. Town doesn't wanna mess with that, it's really difficult to maintain.
Got any more? Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Steve Bright, 8346 Haggard Drive, Martinsville. I'm actually a realtor representing the sellers. And I know for a fact, we have friends that live in the Saddle Club developments on 144 as you come out of Barnesville. And in the last year and a half, they have changed their covenants restrictions because people in those HOAs was tired of Joe Blow from California buying the house next door to them. And they've actually changed their covenants restrictions. I don't know what the verbiage is, I'm not into that, but I know they've changed their HOAs to prevent that from happening. Wakefield Development up on Smith Valley Road, you know, that's 30 or 35 years old. Really close friends of ours sold their house, bought one of these down on 144, and they've done the same thing. 30 years old, or maybe longer, and they have changed the verbiage of their HOA to prevent. And I've been selling real estate for 23 years now. And if somebody calls you about a house in Wakefield, the first question you say is your buyer an investor, or is he gonna live in the home? And if it's an investor, you tell him, you better read the HOAs, because you can't buy here. Now, I do not know what the verbiage is, so I don't wanna step on anybody's feet or anything like that. But I can also say too, Teresa West is the representative of all the heirs on this property. Her aunt is 92 years old in Colorado, and she's praying that this gets sold and closed before she passes away. But Teresa West and I, my family has farmed this ground for 35 years. I'm not a big proponent of selling farm ground to development, but at some point in time, some properties just become necessary due to location to sell for development. Just the way it is. And Teresa West and I met for a year and a half, 18 months. We would meet 3 or 4 times a year. And she said, I don't want to sell this to somebody that's going to build a vinyl village that is going to be, you know, a bad eyesore. She said, I don't want that. She said, my family's owned this farm. We're working with the 3rd generation of tenants or landowners on this farm. And now, as each generation dies, you get more people coming in, more heirs to the property. The problem for the seller is that if this 92-year-old lady passes away before this is closed, now instead of having 3 heirs, we're gonna have 6. Now you get 6 people to convince on what to do with this property, who to sell it to, and how to sell it. So it's a problem for the sellers also. But I can promise you, just as sure as I'm sitting here, Teresa West lives in the house right next to Target, right? on 135, if you're going north. She lives right in the houses next to the pizza place. And we talked about this for a long time. Do not make this a ghost town for New Whiteland, because they want family members to come back down the road later when this is developed and say, we're proud of what we did with the property that we owned for 6 or 7 years. So my sellers have not taken this lightly, folks. They want this to be a plus for New Whiteland. They want it to be a plus for Johnson County. But they want it to also try to close before their 92-year-old aunt Colorado passes away. So, of course, I'm prejudiced or biased. Yeah, I want this to sell. I don't normally want any farm ground to sell, because farming is what my family's done for a lifetime. But like I've already said, there comes a time, this is the location it's at. It's time to sell. It's time for somebody to build houses on it and do something with it.
What dramatically changed now with the farmland being unable to be farmed versus 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago?
Just what I said. We started out Margarita Bell on this property. My mom was 101 years old, and Margarita Bell babysat my mom. So she was the sole owner. Then it went to Kenny Whitaker. He was the sole owner. Then as that went on, now there's 3 spinoffs from that family that own the property now. So the younger generation, folks, and I'm not putting down the younger generation, but when it comes time to keeping the farm or collecting the money, they want the money.
I didn't know if
And
there was
that's-
something
and that's
wrong
where
with
we're
it,
at.
that went wrong with it, that it couldn't be farmed.
It's all having to do with heirs and time.
Well,
Yeah.
the only thing on the farming part is, go drive by there, how much farm ground is left right there? Because everything is built around it, and there's only that ground and the one on the corner of 25W that is left, or 75W, that's left. So what else are you gonna do with it? I mean, like you said, our sons farmed it. You can't get farm equipment down around in that area much anymore. I mean, you just can't do it. That's why our youngest one is moving to Missouri, because we can farm in Missouri.
All right. Any other questions?
I don't recall answering, why the traffic study hasn't been done first.
So there was a lot of discussion with the staff and going through exactly where we were headed with it. We also had to get accurate counts and how many units we were gonna have, of homes, right? Because if we were gonna have X or X plus 50, it would make a difference in the traffic study. So we had to get that nailed down, and we did that. And then there was a time where we had fall break, and so we're working through all those things. And so the counters are out, and we should be starting to see results here shortly.
They've to be honest with you, so they were out. They actually pulled them yesterday or today. So, and when we started this, if I remember right, on that last preliminary plat, I think there was 425 or 435 homes, and now I think I'm seeing it's down to 361. I think is what's on there. Okay, I just wanted to double check there.
How many is for C, because you didn't state that when you.
For area C, it's 27%. Those outer runs of the townhomes are 27.
I'm gonna move on.
I think John
John's
had a
pretty good
question.
at
This lady's been raising her hand from the get-go. Sorry, John. Yes, ma'am.
Coleman, 112 Lee Court. I've heard several things about preparations for utilities, sewer, water, and so forth, emergency services at the previous meeting. What I haven't heard, this is one of a couple of concerns I have, is I see on this map here, there will be 3 entrances onto Sawmill Road. So,
Two regular entrances and an emergency entrance.
okay,
For clarification.
so the south one is emergency.
Yeah, it'll have ballards in front of it, it's not accessible from
Only fire and safety.
Emergency personnel
All right,
will have
we all
access.
know the Whiteland Road is 2 lanes, it can't be widened, so you're gonna have 2 extra entrances here for Whiteland Road for traffic, whether they're going north or south. I assume that
these houses and families are gonna be in the new Whiteland area, so Break a Day, the middle school. I haven't heard any, addressing of impact on the schools as far as students go. I haven't heard any impact on how the traffic is gonna affect the bus routes. My other concern is that there are a lot of other developments going in. Somebody mentioned 75 West, I forgot about that. There's one south of Astral and Franklin. There's Honey Creek doing one. There's one off of Worthsville Road. So these are not really distant communities. So all of a sudden we have all this building going on in a relatively close proximity. Where are all these people gonna come from? They're not all these places are not gonna be filled. And
I don't know how to really answer you on that one. I could just say that I would say the developer or the person building the homes would have to be, you know, they've got to be able to market it, and they're the ones that got to decide that. I wanted to answer your question on the school stuff, and it's something that hasn't been brought up during the meeting. So there was a tech review meeting that brings in all the town department heads, brought in people, all the utility providers around the area were invited. The school corporation was invited. In attendance, we had people from the school district that was there, our utilities, our streets, fire, police, our building, and all that stuff. You know, and I've got to rely on their expertise from that side of it. The school had no concerns there. One big thing was about the buses and things like that into the townhomes. That's one of the reasons they've been working around the buses to make those roads a little wider, because that was something the school requested, to make things easier for the bus routes. Fire chief, things like that, they've looked at everything. They feel like they've got the coverage. Same thing with the police department, and things like that. So, that was kind of what I had got. The biggest thing as far as from the school side of it goes, I wanted to make sure you knew that it's not just the town or us. We had gotten comments, or they were able to comment, or were at a meeting that they got to address their concerns as well.
I understand it's all integrated system. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All right, John.
John Purdy, 45 Whiteland. I want to make a statement of something I've learned, and I do have a couple of questions. The statement is part of this process, the town has to get a fiscal plan. We have to have a third party look at what this will mean for the town financially. The town council received that a couple of weeks ago, and it'll mean about $38,000 a year in gross new taxes the way it sits right now. I don't mean the way once it's fully developed, it would mean $38,000 in gross new taxes per year. So while Gradison says this will be tens of millions of dollars in value, clearly will be, unless the town takes action, we won't benefit from that. So again, there are some mechanisms that can be taken there's a maximum levy for a municipality. We're there already. So as this value gets added, the town doesn't benefit financially until that levy's changed. So there can be an appeal, likely would be approved, but if it's not, again, there's not a significant financial impact for the town. Couple of questions I have. One of the primary concerns I have has been expressed multiple times, that this will turn into a neighborhood full of rental properties. I work at a bank and we do residential developments, and I've seen rental companies come in and say, if you'll give me a 5% discount, 7% discount, I'll buy the next 20 houses. I've seen that happen, and I really don't want to see that happen here. It sounds like Mr. Bright said it's possible that you can put a covenant in that says you can't sell to a rental company. I wonder if there's a way we can put a covenant in that says these have to be sold to primary owners, meaning this will be a primary residence for the first person that moves in.
One of the difficult things about that, first of all, you can't limit it to where somebody is coming from. I mean, that's.
Well, I didn't say that.
No, I know. This is one of the things that was said earlier. Theoretically, again, if it's a primary homeowner, again, you still run into a scenario where that person can still rent their home for a year. you still have the same,
Right.
if everybody in the neighborhood said, we're gonna rent our home to somebody, everybody can do it for a year, limiting a corporation from doing it. Now, one thing I will say is both builders do not sell to investor groups. There's not an investor group that's gonna come in and buy 20 homes from Lennar.
Put that in the covenants for this?
Well, it wouldn't be the covenants generally, but Ryan Homes does not sell to investors. They don't sell neighborhoods to investors.
It's not in the covenant.
But how do you define what an investor is? A national
That's the
investor?
question that I've got. It wasn't so much a question for you,
Yeah.
it's a question for the board.
Challenge.
Is there a way to define that so that that first owner has to be a primary residence owner?
I'm gonna look at Julie.
Well, I guess I would,
Can I piggyback on that real quick? I was just gonna say, do they not do that with FHA loans?
I don't
You
know.
only get it if you're a first time buyer or something? It's kind of going with what he's
Well,
saying.
but FHA is insuring loans to individual lenders.
I know, but
I
you
mean,
can only
borrowers.
do something if you're a first,
No.
with what he's saying.
FHA home loans can be done to anybody more than once.
So are you able to answer, I guess, answer John's question on that as far as that goes? Go ahead.
I honestly don't know whether you could strip from a property owner their right to convey property to whoever they choose. But I think I'm gonna pass the buck and say, if you could, would they be willing to commit to it? And I think the answer, well, wait a minute.
Sorry.
I think the answer is gonna be no anyway, because I don't think that, if there's not a willingness to make the commitment, there's no reason to find out whether it's something that can be made.
I think you
I've not had an occasion to know of a case where corporations have been prohibited from buying property.
And I think I wanna clarify. I think maybe what John was saying. I don't know, because what you had said kind of even confused me. Now was I think you're talking more from an investor buying straight from Lennar or Ryan Homes, not if I went in and bought the house and then a year or two later I need to rent my house because I've got a new job out in California. You want to make sure that Lennar or Ryan Homes does not sell out.
I think that's probably more legally enforceable if the builders are willing to agree that the initial sale will be to, the commitment would have to be something like the initial sale would be to an owner occupant. But if someone expresses their intent, or they agree that they will be the occupant of the property and then turn out not to be, I don't know where you go from there.
And then the other thing is if I wanna buy a house for my daughter that she can live in, I'm not the occupant.
Well, and we can waive this all day. It sounds like what you're saying is, as Lee said, if it's possible, you're not willing. Is that a fair statement?
That would be something we'd have to go back and have meetings on with the building. We can't make that commitment sitting here today.
That's fair.
We're happy to have that discussion.
So that's the answer I was looking for. And again, the thing that concerns me is these are small lots. Some of these lots are in the primary area of the subdivision are 70% of what our stated minimum is in town. And our minimum stated in our zoning isn't a very big lot to begin with. So these are gonna be very small lots. They're gonna be small houses on small lots, which are conducive to rental properties. And one of the things I think, I don't remember which one you said, I get the road by the wastewater treatment plant. I get that those maybe need to be small lots. Those need to be financially viable. I don't know that the entire subdivision, in my opinion, needs to be that. Because again, I look at what this is, and we've all seen subdivisions like this. You look at it 5 and 10 years later, and I don't think we're gonna like the way it looks. That's my concern. And that, again, that's a statement, not a question. Another question I do have, the townhomes as designed have one primary residential entrance. What if there's an emergency in that, right in the opening of that subdivision, there's no way for people to access their homes? What if a water pipe bursts? Yeah, but the other one's an emergency entrance. I'm talking about homeowners. And we talked a minute ago about the department heads. I talked to Dave Kern today, who's the fire chief in Whiteland. That is a concern that he has, that there's only one primary entrance for residences. Now, of course, they can move the bollards, they can drive their fire trucks in, his concern is, what if something goes wrong at that entrance, one of the houses, the road, a pipe? There's no other way of getting this part of the subdivision.
The HOA management company will have keys for the bollards, and then fire and safety and police will have keys for the bollards. So if there's something that's going on, there could be a call to the fire department, and they could come out, and if the management company couldn't get there in time, then they could have those bollards done.
So tell me about that entrance, is it gonna be grass?
No, it'll be paved.
Anyway.
It'll be paved. As the
There will be a
fire,
paved.
the fire chief wanted, it was gonna be.
Okay, good.
Drive. It's basically a drive. It's gonna have 2 or 3 bollards.
But it's gonna be 2 people be driving track. It'll be suitable for.
Oh, absolutely. For the fire.
I wasn't aware of that either, that it was gonna be paid.
It's either 16 or 20.
Okay, big enough.
I just sit here laughing at it, because I live the same issue you do. And I'm not pro them, you know, I'm not saying I am pro them, but they're only talking 12 units or whatever. I don't know. We got all the houses in our subdivision with one entrance. I mean, I'm sitting there going, I'm sitting there saying this, but you're being hypocritical, Kyle, because I deal with it right now.
One of the other things that I'd like the council especially consider the walking trail. So there's gonna be a 8-foot paved trail along Whiteland Road. What's gonna go up Sawmill?
What did you say? I'm sorry, I was talking to you about.
There'll be a paved trail along Whiteland Road. What's gonna go up Sawmill?
There's a 5-foot sidewalk.
So it'll be a concrete, 5-foot concrete, and it'll go all the way to the north end of the property, essentially to the church?
So there's gonna be a solid sidewalk on the rest of Sawmill?
Yes.
Well, that might even help with the water, or your sidewalks can be underwater.
Who's responsible to maintain that, HOA?
Well, and then along the creek, you propose an easement that could eventually be a trail. I'd like the council to consider requiring that to be a trail. The developer would install the asphalt pavement. for that.
Until the past week, we were going to install that, but then we were asked to install the trail on Whiteland Road instead.
Oh, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. Ideally, I'd like to see the entire
Right,
thing,
right.
but I realize the north end of the property, that's complicated. What I'd like to see is a trail, whether it's concrete or an asphalt trail on the west side, the south side, and the east side. And again, I realize you may probably don't want to do that, but I'd like the council to consider that. I think that's an improvement, not just for this subdivision, but for everybody. And, you know, to say, well, they ought to build it, that's simply not physically possible.
And your
But I
trail
think
is,
that trail, but I think that
in
trail,
addition to Sawmill Road.
yeah, well, and that'll be an
It
improvement on
makes it,
Sawmill Road.
exactly.
But again, I think we ought to look for an asphalt trail up the creek side. And again, I think that's primarily what my primary concern is the lot size and the tendency that this neighborhood's gonna be towards rentals. And I don't have anything against rentals. I live in Breakaday. I own a rental myself in the neighborhood just to the east of. I maintain it very well. You can look at my rental. It's clean, it's well maintained, it's in good repair. When you get these out-of-state companies that have scores of rentals, they're not. And, you know, we can talk about a homeowners association. We already have enough trouble in this town getting people to clean up the properties that exist, let alone saying, well, this homeowners association is going to handle this for us. So again, those are all concerns that I've got about the project.
Two things on what you said. I think the difference would be where I live and where you live. We don't have an HOA, thank God. But now we rely on Bob himself to go out and make sure everything is correct.
Well, that wasn't
If,
comment about Bob.
no, and I'm just saying, where we live, we have to deal with it because we don't have an HOA that can come out and say, cut your grass or we're gonna fine you $500, which they will do that. So that may mitigate that somewhat. You guys said, Mark, I think you said it, that it could be put into the HOA covenants that only a certain percentage, and I know you didn't want to do that because if we say 20 and 21, oh well. You know, when you run out of lots, somebody else may want to come and buy there and it's like, oh well, we're out. So I think a somewhat easier way would be say, okay, there's going to be a percentage of the number of homes built that will be ever allowed to go up for rental. If it's 10%, that's 36 homes can go up for rent. If you need 37, oh well, you got to wait for somebody else to buy a house. And I think that would somewhat help. We're not gonna have 200 of the 300 homes. And I think that's a little more doable than kind of what I was even thinking of right in there that, you know, a corporation can't buy it, because what you did say makes sense. Now you're infringing on somebody else's rights as far as what they can buy or sell.
Talk to the builders. I just can't make a decision. I can't make a financial decision for them standing.
Yeah.
And they're, we have one representative, but he can't make that decision at his level.
You don't want to?
I assume he can.
So I'm assumingly, like with some of that stuff that you know, to me that'd be adding into the commitments.
Yeah.
The way that I understand this process would work is we actually don't vote on approval of the zoning ordinance. We are going to be voting on a favorable or a non-favorable recommendation to the town council. The town council then, because if they need to go talk to them, it could still be get through this process tonight and still things get added to those commitments from the council side of it.
Yeah. If the ordinance is changed, the council then has to send it back to the planning commission. So if the council decides to adopt the ordinance and make modifications to it, it has to send the ordinance back down to the planning commission. It can't, now, some imposition of additional commitments, there may be able to be some modification of that.
Lee, real quick, if we get, let's say we get to council, rather than modifying the ordinance, we agree to a verbal commitment to add something to our private covenants.
Yeah.
I don't think that would have to come back here.
That's what if we had a separate agreement, right, commitments, development commitments, that is a separate instrument that is negotiated with the council that isn't embedded in the ordinance and doesn't change it, then yeah, we may be able to do that without having to come back.
So we could verbally agree if, you know, allow us time to talk
Or
to our builders.
we can agree in writing, but
I mean, in all honesty, writing or on the, you know, whether I'm on the record verbally or I sign it,
it's enforceable.
It's gonna be enforceable either way. And if we tie it to us being able to put, if everybody agrees we're gonna put a limit on rentals, we could make that commitment to do so in our covenants, and wouldn't require us to come back here.
I think that's right.
So, and as we said, we're willing to go have those conversations between now and December 4th, and be able to report back to you probably something, you know, next week after we have a talk with the builders and say, here's what we talked about. Yeah, we think we're able to put in some kind of limit.
There's some mechanism.
Some mechanism to protect.
Maybe you can't sell
what you guys are talking about.
5 or 3 units to the same person or something like that, right? And there's other ways to skin the cat. Let's see what we can come up with that doesn't fly in the face of federal law, because there's that, and then something that then can be enforceable in the law and all by the association.
We're happy to do that
And report back to the council at that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Helps me swallow this horse pill a little bit, knowing that you're gonna attempt to try to put a limit of how many rentals can be over there, because this, I'm not sure if you guys know that, I don't know the streets, I just go nowhere, I got turned to go here and there. This has a major impact on me.
Yeah.
Major impact of what I'm gonna lose, not my, I already know what I'm losing. I don't know yet what I'm gonna gain, other than maybe no longer have a pond in my front yard.
Have sidewalk on Sawmill.
And no longer have a pond.
I think Mr. Bright said, well, this is gonna develop. What we're trying to do here is make sure we
Yes.
get what we want.
And I like what you were trying to say is, let's see what we can,
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that, and I'm sure we'll come up with some mechanism that is beneficial.
So what dollar amount are you talking, the trail he's talking about? I mean, what dollar amount is that estimate? I mean, you think, because the trail system is a very good selling point, and especially even for other areas that don't live in there. because people will ride their bikes.
So clarifying, you're talking about the one that runs to the
The
west
one
side?
you eliminated to put the one on Whiteland Road.
One that runs to
So,
the west
so
side
what
and
would you,
north side of the
what did
townhouse.
you,
It's roughly $75,000.
So that's what the new one you're putting in is gonna, what you're thinking, or what we took
That's
out?
what they removed.
Okay, on that, okay, along the townhomes,
because I
okay.
agree that it is, the trail system has become more and more and more popular everywhere. So anything you can do to help people is not a bad thing, because it gets people off the street, they like to ride in the trails, walk the trails. And
I think one of the holdups on that, Jeff, if I understand correctly, is the reason they're granting the easement is because the county, and I know Carmen, you're a big part of that group, they're gonna come through there anyway. That's already proposed. But they don't know exactly where or when. And so, you know, we don't wanna get the cart before the horse and say, okay, we built this, now you're a half a mile that way, you gotta figure out how to bring yours over here. I think that's why you granted the easement, was
Well,
because
that's one. I mean, certainly there was a line that is shown on the conceptual part of where the trails, you know, are wanting to be. It doesn't mean that's exactly where they're gonna be, right? It's just conceptual on how they do that. The trick back is how it works from a terrain, floodplain, trees, buildability, cost to build on a side slope, trying to make it ADA compliant. All of those things make it very difficult to put the trail where the line was. So we came up with the idea of going along the west side and the north side of the townhouse. The one thing I will say to that, for the $75,000 that it costs to do that, in our estimation, it's not a big valuable piece to the trail system. The reason why I say that is because you're gonna be able to go down to the corner and up Sawmill. And this is just cutting the corner a little bit, even though it's the same number of steps, probably, to go either way. So that's the only reason why we thought, okay, maybe that's one of the lesser value part of the system that they have designed, in my opinion. But I'm not saying no, I'm just saying
So,
that's part of the reason why I thought it was only why the make more sense.
right. Don't smack me, I know we've had conversations on this. Part of the Johnson County Trails, runs along the east side of Grassy Creek. Obviously, sounds like trails is a really big thing. I knew, you know, we've had conversation that it was gonna be a hot topic. Is there any willingness here, and this may, I know we've had conversation, but to do anything along that, the west side?
That's a lot more money. That's $350,000 around that trail.
Okay, that's,
That's a big number.
I'd ready to throw 350,000 toward the roundabout.
so
We also have an easement that we granted to go along the Grassy Creek, east side of Grassy Creek. So that trail would be a lot more money.
Oh, I thought that you said would be 75,000.
No, that's the
That's
one
kind of what I
that.
thought.
so he's
talking
75,000 basically goes from here.
Around the town, right?
Wraps around that side, so it'll tie this trail in to this side of the sidewalk.
Not down in the
Wasn't it
flood.
75,000?
Not down in the flood zone.
When it gets on top of it.
I was trying to think if
Yes. Owned by the homeowner association
I think that's something we look at.
We could consider some conversations with the town regarding that area. The town would like to have it. We just need to make sure it works from what we need from our standpoint from the neighborhood, but we would entertain that, yes. There's been plenty of other things to discuss that are more important. but we just haven't-
whether it would be part of the town, the homeowners association, the trail up to the. That done?
Yes.
I have a really silly question. Sherry 45 Brickman Road. The tree line on the north end of the property by the church, will that be gone?
We're, this, a little bit of it, yes, but we're trying to keep as much of that tree line as we possibly can.
Oh, okay.
That's not a silly question.
Those are my trees.
No, yeah, I get it. I like seeing trees.
That's my trees.
We discussed that with them. Those trees are actually, I think, completely, not all, but some of the trees that as you get to Sawmill, that property line runs on an angle that nobody probably realizes. So a lot of those trees are on our property, but the good news is a lot of those are in the common space, so we don't have to take them down. When we get to where the houses are, it gets a little bit more dicey, and we're gonna try to move the swale in order to save some of those trees.
So how much of the big woods is going, all of it?
Say,
Yeah, like along the back whole farmhouse that you guys bought.
So,
She bought or whoever bought, all that woods. It looks like it might be staying.
I know a portion of that, Mark, is probably area that you're gonna be
yeah, part of it is we're deeding to the town.
to the town.
So part of that woods will be.
Yeah, so the other side of Frank's
This
house,
here's
the
the
west
part
side of
of
Frank Calvin's house here
Okay.
is gonna be to the town.
So this woods will be on. Yes. This is the part
If there's any more questions, if not, I'm gonna close the public hearing and then things like that. I'm gonna close the public hearing. I guess conversation up here after hearing comments from the public and things along those lines. Trail. I guess are you talking about, I know you and I were kind of talking, were you talking basically this up through here? Is that what we were talking, the one where he's talking about $75,000? I mean, trails are always, gonna be good. I know that it doesn't go anywhere. I know that it does call for it, in the trails thing. What's
Anybody
thoughts?
else's thoughts?
Like I said earlier, I think with knowing the county and Greenwood, Franklin and us and Whiteland is all working together on a trail system to come through there. Like I say, I don't want us to have them put something through there and then we're a quarter of a mile away from where they're gonna come through and it's like, oh crap, we screwed up.
So this is where I'd be more apt to saying we're that one that we originally had him taken out the set when he was talking about 75,000. That really doesn't affect a whole bunch of there. It's more or less going to connect a little bit different on Sawmill where you maybe miss that intersection if you're walking, kind of walk a little bit through some more, call it as much nature as you can back through there. I think the big one would be is where they're granting us the easement along Grassy Creek. That's the main one. And if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the big ones that they're wanting to bring down from Greenwood, tying in through Proctor Park, down to Whiteland Road, and then trying to get to Franklin at some point in time. So, I think definitely the one that's running along Grassy Creek, the one on the west side of their property, I think definitely needs to just be staying in easement, just because of the reason of what you had said.
Yeah, where's the one you showed me?
Right here. It's gonna be this right here. Basically, it is running right here.
Okay, so is that staying or is it just gonna be Whiteland Road?
This, right now, it's just Whiteland Road. This is the one that she just said that she wanted to see.
I'd have no problems asking them to agree to it as well. I mean, I'll be honest, we never really talked about how much money, and $75,000 to me is dropping the budget, but, whoa!
What was that?
Gum pop.
Oh. Everything's... Well. I don't know. Show it to him and ask.
Well,
I'll let Mark finish talking to Carmen real quick. Yes, ma'am. Is it different? I'm sitting where she's sitting. So where are we at?
but it doesn't need a
So there's no angle on it.
recommended approval.
See, so that's the one that
I know. It's okay, but
No,
the key is
I get.
that one
I get-
wasn't,
So what about,
that one wasn't.
That's what
even-
he's
that one
talking
there.
about from
Yeah,
the.
That one wasn't even, now it was at one point in time, but it's not on. Assume this is current, Carmen, right? This is current?
That's
correct?
the adopted plan.
This is the adopted one, so we must have looked at a pre-med. So this adopted one doesn't even have that angled. We saw an arrow or a line that was like this, and it's not here.
so we don't know where it's gonna go?
Well, that one. So now the other
It's
one.
not going to be at this point, unless.
So I guess my question to you, Mark, is going to be is, do you have willingness to put that one in at $75,000? You know, you're estimating that. Do you have that willingness, or?
I guess, is that where the town wants to spend it? So, again, from a value standpoint, is that what you wanna do, or do you wanna put it towards the future of the one that's gonna run along the creek that might tie parks in?
So you're saying basically something along the lines of, instead of installing the one along behind the north side, we would increase the 290 to something else for future trail to go towards that one along that's in the county trails plan.
I would ask that 75 goes to the plan. The trail. To the trail.
Yes.
Not to the general fund.
Right. We would write it up as another
So we
commitment.
would, so on the record, we'll agree to add an additional commitment for a $75,000 payment to go towards the bigger trail system when the time is right. Yes, we'll do that.
Or by the time we sell the last one, make sure we leave it with you if it's not going to happen.
But it has to go toward the trails.
Yes.
We even said our last plat, not even the last house, but our last plat.
Okay.
That way, it's there, plenty in front of that.
But yes, we'll agree to that.
Does that help you?
Any?
Carmen, would that be a better solution in order for the betterment of that path? Because I assume that each of the communities is gonna have to pitch in for this to happen.
Right, and for this particular, like, path, this would take us, if we could get that connection from Whiteland Road to Proctor Park. And that would be huge for this community as well as other folks.
Oh, yeah.
The goal
Yeah.
is to eventually, I can share this plan with anybody and everyone, but the goal is to create a path from all of our communities to connect to each other. So not just, but this one is, I'll say, a really easy one. We've got a county surveyor that's open to allowing us to encroach in his legal drain, the county's legal drain, to install these paths. And what better way, you still get the nature that, you go up to Greenfield, or Greenwood, Summer Field Park, and then, we've got a path. It would, yeah.
And we'll commit to putting the easement wherever it needs to be for the parks, Johnson County Trails, or whatever it's called. So wherever they want it, if the surveyor wants it, if you want it inside the ditch, or inside the regulated drain, that's fine. If you want it just outside of it, that's fine too. So
I think the biggest thing on our end was putting it outside of that legal drain, because if we got a new surveyor and they were like, oh nope, we're changing our mind, well, they don't have as much leg to stand on. So,
well,
but
if the easement's there, then they don't have a choice. So it might be better putting it in, knowing that you can always go out with us.
Right,
As long as
but
we're
their
around.
easement is 75 feet top of bank on each side. And
Right.
so like what Matt was saying about the previous surveyor before Greg Cantwell was, don't even talk to us about a trail along, in his
Right, in
easement.
his area.
And I say his, I mean.
That's how they feel.
But, so that would potentially limit us if we run these the 11.
but we could.
Right, but if we grant you that easement now, then it's there. So
Well, it's still subject to the county's drainage
Yeah,
easement. It's
the
going to
county
be
is super-
inferior to that.
So, they'd have to sign
Although
off.
we have a
But
different.
my point is that they're happy with it now. If you can get them to sign off on it now, then it's there.
But that being said, I mean, you guys are fine moving it where, and that can all be discussed with the trails committee and things like that.
Do you already have to go to the drainage board for anything? The county drainage board along Grassy Creek?
Yes,
Is
we're
that-
gonna, I believe we're gonna have to go there for our, entryway,
Could we go ahead and
or our
have,
outlet permit.
could we go ahead and have them ask for the encroachment for a future trail along Grassy Creek, as well as whatever, other requests you need to make from the county surveyor, or the drainage board? And go ahead and ask for that commitment now, and then that would, that would matter if who's the surveyor and such.
I'd say I mean, as far as that goes with I think, whatever we need to do there, I'm fine with.
How about, we'll work with Carmen and make sure, and you guys, and make sure we're granting what is appropriate for.
Yeah,
to
for
accomplish the
for
goal.
what that is.
To accomplish the goal, yes.
Because you guys, I mean, we'll be, so you guys would first, assuming we get through this process, we would come to you with our first construction drawings before we're ready to file them and get some input. At that point in time, we say, all right, here's, let's do this. And then we go down to the surveyor and have that conversation with them and get filed on the file our outlet permit and be on the drainage board.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I don't know.
So Lee, I guess kind of guide us what is needed from us.
Well, a few notes here. You have said through the course of this meeting that the restriction related to short-term leases would actually be more stringent, and you would agree that there would be no leases for a term shorter than a year,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You're
Our covenants will say that.
You're committing to that?
Yes.
But you agree that that can be a part of the ordinance?
Sure.
Okay. Because that would amend condition number 2.
Yeah.
And I think everybody up here likes that better anyway.
Yeah,
So,
we're fine with that.
where did we land on limiting? Oh, that's part of the conversation.
We're gonna have
On limiting
to-
it. Okay.
Yeah, well, that'll have to be at a later date. And then the 75,000.
Towards the trail.
Yeah, and you will contribute 75,000. I want to need some help here on understanding how to fashion this commitment. You're going to pay $75,000 toward the cost of constructing trails.
For whoever's going to construct it, it's not gonna be us.
Okay, toward the construction of trails.
But arguably Johnson County's gonna come into Whiteland and say, hey, this part of the trail, you guys have to pony up X amount of dollars. And so you can just use that 75, which will reduce the amount town of Whiteland has to pay.
And you will contribute that amount at or prior to the time that your final plat is recorded.
Correct.
Our last section plan is.
Our final plat for the subdivision.
Because you're gonna use that money, or the sooner of the trail being going in,
Right.
or
Okay.
the
Or
last section.
that makes
Our last final plat.
Right. But if it's not done at the point that you're completing it and recording your final plat, then
We'll
that
pay that
money
in
gets
then.
contributed to the
Yeah.
town.
Correct.
And the town will agree that it would be earmarked for and spent on the construction of.
Correct.
You're agreeing to that?
Yes.
And then, as far as this easement is concerned, are we asking them to dedicate an easement that we don't already have?
It's already on.
It's already on the plat.
This is-
It's already on the plat.
this is the
It's just
one-
a question where the location is.
But we're talking about that
We have an
easement
easement
that we have marked along the east side of Grassy Creek. It's
Correct.
running north and south along Grassy Creek.
Yes, that's already on the primary plat.
So we don't need anything other than you are agreeing to move that. Well, what do we need from you on that if we're already out on the plat?
It's
You
nothing.
don't need anything from
We don't need anything.
I get your point, Carmen, that you want them while they're down there talking with a friendly Johnson County Drainage Board that might as well go ahead and secure that.
Right.
Well, don't
But
put it on
that's
to
more-
secure it.
No, might as well try to secure it.
we can bring it up, yes, but I can't have it negatively, I can't die on that.
No,
sword
I'm saying
because
try,
of-
I'm saying try to secure it. That's what I'm saying.
I get it, but I don't know how you put that in a commitment.
And I don't know that we really need anything from you in a formal sense that would take
I would not think so.
the form of a commitment if we've already got a plat, because it stands right now, it is an easement that will be on the plat, that will run on the outside, and that gives us what we need. And if it ultimately can be worked out in such a way that it can be shoved over in the drainage easement, then you don't care, and I guess we don't care.
There are times when you've got the primary plat that has the easement, by the time you get to secondary plat or construction documents on a particular section, where you go through TAC and say, we need to shed this easement, that happens all the time. So,
You're willing to cooperate in that process?
of course.
Okay. Then, I think that your sort of range of choices here is to make a okay, let me back up a little bit too, because we don't meet very often. You are an advisory plan commission, which means your purpose is to do this business of the town and conduct these public hearings and consider these proposals, and taking sort of a deep dive and a close scrutiny of what is being proposed, and give the public an opportunity to speak on these types of proposals. And then what you do is you send on to the town council a recommendation. You don't have authority as a committee to approve this. Ultimately, if this proposed zoning ordinance, this PUD, gets approved, it will be approved by the town council, because it is approved by adopting an ordinance, and that is their function, not yours. So your role is important, but your role is to give advice, to make a recommendation to the town council on what you think the town council ought to do. So you can, by a motion and a second and a vote to send to the town council a favorable recommendation. You're saying to the town council, we think you ought to adopt this ordinance, the ordinance that's sitting in front of you, and the ordinance that has been discussed. You can send a recommendation to the town council that you think they ought to approve it, subject to these additional conditions that we've just discussed being added. You can send a recommendation to the town council that you think they ought not approve this. An unfavorable recommendation, your advice being, don't do this, vote no. Or you can say, we're not doing anything. It's been a nice, long, pleasant evening. We would not have chosen to spend this time any other way. But at the end of it all, we have nothing to say to the town council. And that's certainly within your prerogative to send no recommendation at all. But even if you decide to send no recommendation at all, we would need to make a motion to make no recommendation, second the motion, and vote to make no recommendation. Okay, and I'll tell you one other thing too, if it matters. This discussion we had about whether you can send this on to the town council, and let me say it differently, it's going on to the town council, no matter what. The town council will have authority to amend and impose additional commitments on this ordinance, commitments, without it having to come back here if it chooses to. So, and it's your action to take, not mine. But I think that if any of you are inclined to make a motion to recommend approval to the town council, I think that motion should be conditioned upon, I move to send to the town council a favorable recommendation on the ordinance as submitted and considered this evening, with these additional commitments, that short-term leases would be for term no less than a year, and the developer agreeing to contribute toward the construction of a future trail $75,000, which would be paid at the time the trail is constructed, or at the time the final section of the final plat is recorded. I don't think there are any other additional commitments that have been offered tonight. But we want to get our arms around those and pull those into. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's one choice. If anyone's so inclined to make a motion to recommend approval.
I make a motion, we recommend approval of sending ordinance 2024-09 to the town council with the aforementioned conditions.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye. Oh,
Cindy didn't hear who seconded.
I didn't catch your voice, I don't know the lady's voice.
That was me.
You said favorable, correct?
Yes.
I saw Marco, like,
You just got a big bonus. You got a big bonus.
so we got motion, got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Did you vote? You were in here.
She voted with it.
Five and one against.
You know,
So-
that's the only reason I said no, is I'm not against, I'm like what Mr. Bright said, this is gonna be developed. By clear conscience could not pass vote, because I've been around this area my whole life. And I can take you to areas where the smaller lots and the vinyl sided places don't look real good. So it goes through, but I'm not against you guys.
Yeah.
But in my clear conscience, I couldn't vote yes.
respect your decision, Jeff, for sure.
So, what will happen now is I will provide for Matt to sign a certification certifying this action, which will be delivered to the town council and communicate to the town council members that their advisory plan commission has favorably recommended the adoption of this ordinance. And I fully expect this to be on the town council's agenda on December 4th. And that'll be the next step in this process.
Since you folks have all come out tonight, just to clarify, December 4th at 5 p.m. is when the council meets again.
And I hate to really tell you this, but there is another public hearing of a preliminary plat, so.
And on that point too,
I should be very quick with this.
the plan commission, the town council will not hold a public hearing like this. So the public has the statutory right to know about and make comment on proposals to rezone property. But this is the opportunity at the plan commission level for that to take place. So while you certainly may attend the town council meeting, and I can't say for sure that the town council in public forum won't listen to comments made about it, there won't be another public hearing like this at the town council, okay?
So moving on, next portion of the agenda, the preliminary plat. So we'll open that public hearing there.
I'm gonna be incredibly quick with this, since I appreciate everybody's time and everybody that's been here for, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and everybody's tired, so. The purpose of the primary plat is essentially take everything we just talked about on those however many pages we have, and put them on pretty paper. So, this document has the entire layout. It shows, and it's important to note, this document has been submitted to the town engineer, and they looked at it and made comments, it comes back to us. We made changes, it went back to them, they made comments. So this is not, this is a version that has been through the town's engineering department. This is not a final construction document. This simply is the first step in a platting process of showing all the lot sizes, the lot lines, some of the utility lines where they'll be going. And it's essentially, I talk about zoning's up here at 30,000 feet, primary plat's about 10,000 feet, and then we get in construction documents, which are basically street level. So this is taking everything we just talked about and putting it in paper, and having gone back and forth with you guys, it meets all of your ordinances. We've gone back and forth and added things to it that you've asked. We believe this is in a great final form, and we'd ask that you pass this on to council as well with a favorable recommendation.
Well,
Oh, no, this one stays here. You guys just vote. We'd ask that you approve the primary plan. But I presume it would have to be subject to approval of both the annexation and the PUD ordinance.
yeah, I mean, at this point, that's exactly right.
So we'd ask that you approve the primary plat as it is today, again, understanding that it's only going to become effective upon the approval of the annexation and the acceptance of the ordinance at the December 4th meeting.
Okay.
So hopefully it doesn't need a whole lot of detailed talk. We've gone back and forth. It's more of a technical document than it is a zoning document for purposes of a public hearing. So that's all I got to talk about with that.
Questions up here about it? Questions out in the public as far as that goes? Like I said, I think it's just you made that good explanation to me, earlier that that's how you look at it as a picture of what this says. I had never heard that. So, questions out in public as far as the preliminary plat goes. All right, so I'm going to close this public hearing. This one here, I know Lee, I've been involved with some of the stuff when we did Grassy Manor. I know that there's some things that we've done in the past where you can approve the primary plat or preliminary plat as it is and give authority to the zoning administrator, because it's got to come back as the final plat, correct? And as long as everything is the same, we've done that in the past. Is that something that can still be done?
It is, and Matt, until just this very moment, I hadn't had this thought. You all are not going to request secondary plat approval until after your improvements are built.
Correct.
Okay. So
This will be a little different than we.
Pat on the back, bonus points awarded for remembering that is something that we need to attend to. And let me give a little explanation on this too. So you as the plan commission are the ones, this committee is the committee that approves plats. So if you vote to approve this plat, it's approved. The town council doesn't have anything to say about it. They can be unhappy about it, but they don't have anything to say about it. It's not their function, not their role. The plat process is first the submission of a concept plan, or in another case, a sketch plan. That was done some time ago. We now are at the preliminary plat stage. That's what you have before you tonight. And it really is the design of the subdivision. It is how this 160 acres is carved up into lots and streets and common areas. And it is a snapshot of all of that as a way of knowing how it's going to be planted on the earth. It gets approved as a preliminary plat. Then there has to be a final plat done and recorded in order to actually define these lots as separate parcels of real estate, and that would ultimately then make it a plat of the town of New Whiteland. What most developers do, or at least in our experience here, is ask for that final plat approval to be done as fast as possible after the preliminary approval. Back to your point. That can be done either by having the developer come back with the final plat for signature and recordation and present it to the full committee, or you have the discretion to delegate to the zoning administrator approval or authority to approve that on his own, which is what you're talking about. We can go ahead and do that, except there's no urgency in doing that because you're not going to ask for final plat approval until after you have built your improvements.
Yeah, or as we're finishing about.
At time as you go along section by section?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other thing, just to note so everybody understands, different than a primary plat, a final plat. As long as it meets.
It does.
The ordinance, there is no discretion to deny it.
That's right.
So if we came back here and as long as we met all the ordinances, you couldn't deny it anyway. So that's why most places do designate it to the zoning administrator, because you have no authority to deny it anyway under state statute. So just making that clear.
So while it's not contemplated that they're going to be asking for that soon, and we're not doing it for the sake of time, I don't see anything wrong with going ahead and taking that action to delegate the authority for final approval to our zoning administrator, with the understanding that if we think at any point along the way that's not what we want, you could always take that authority back and have it presented to the full committee. But while we're doing the housekeeping, let's go ahead and do that too. So the first two motions. First, the motion would be to approve the preliminary plat as submitted. And I would say to you too, there's not really much discretion in not approving a preliminary plat either, because the standard is if it meets the requirements of our subdivision control ordinance, statutorily, you don't have any basis on which not to approve it, and the case law doesn't bode well for planning commissions who have refused to approve it. And I don't think we have any reason at this point, based on the review that has been done by the tech committee, by you guys, by our own engineer, I don't think there's any basis to think that it doesn't comply with the standards of our subdivision control ordinance, right? So with that in mind, it is sort of it is sort of a clerical function almost, so long as the plat is in order. So the motion would be to approve the preliminary plat as presented.
So this is the first one we gotta do. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the preliminary plat.
I second that. I second that.
There you go. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Did you say anything at all, or just abstaining? Did you?
Am I that quiet?
Huh? Yeah, everybody's quiet. Everybody's sleepy.
He's just
so
so soft-spoken.
6 affirmative.
I've never been
6 affirmative.
It's a joke.
We all know that's not true. So 6 affirmative on that one.
So then you can make a motion tonight to delegate authority to the town zoning administrator to grant subsequent approvals of the secondary and final plat as submitted.
In the way that, you think you said this, but basically they're looking to make sure that the secondary one matches this identity. That's their job.
And to Adam's point, if he reaches that conclusion, there is no basis on which the planning commission could refuse to grant secondary plat approval.
Again, a clerical thing.
And that's who you're going to rely on. Well, I don't know. You guys do so much, but ultimately the zoning administrator is kind of tasked with doing that review anyway, right? So if you're inclined to do that and get that done tonight, so that we don't have to worry at some point in the future, 18 months from now, that, oh gee, we didn't do that, and they're trying to get it done, and we don't have a meeting scheduled, then it'd be a good time to get it done now.
Secondary and final, correct?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that the zoning administrator can approve the secondary and final plat.
Am I allowed to second?
Sure.
Okay, I'll second.
You're allowed to make the motion if you want to.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6 affirmative on that one.
Thank you all very much.
I heard you that time.
For working with us on this.
All right, so
let's stay on this between now and December 4th, because that's going to come really fast.
I think I realize this. I think I'm going to assume this on the agenda. We do have the garage sale sign thing. I'm assuming that we don't. Well, that'll get pushed off because we don't have the ordinance right now.
Good assumption. Sorry.
Okay, so that's closed to the meeting.
Thank you, guys.
I may actually
Thank you, everybody.
I may actually have the ordinance, but I know that I ever circulated it to anybody and didn't think about bringing it in.
I hope you understood what I meant.
Did you send it in?